coming up. Boo, 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 boo. Okay, so we're live on the tubes of you and the Rumble, and
Hi, Rumble.
Here goes Facebook. Will go live now.
Welcome, everybody.
Yep. Welcome, everybody. Good to be with you. Welcome to the Political Head Trauma Podcast, where if Head Trauma had a podcast, it would sound just like this. Oh, it looks like everything's rolling and going and up and running. And so
you want to get that started? The intro?
Yes. Let me kick off the intro.
Mr. Producer.
I'm just looking. We've still got sometimes this app throws me for a loop. And so it's got last week's comments still up, and I don't know how to maintain those. I can't even dig them up later. But anyways, here's the intro.
Live from Utah's Wasatch Front, the pulse of the Mountain West, where the issues that shape your life meet the truth that sets you free. Across Utah, across the Republic, and around the world, welcome. This is KMMU.
Okay, outstanding. So I've been on a pretty much antelope-based diet for the last couple days.
Yeah, tell us about the hunt.
Yeah, it was good. I went out with the girlfriend's youngest the first day, and we saw an antelope but couldn't get on it to take a shot. And then the next day, he wanted to play with his friends because he is a 17 or almost 18-year-old young man, and their friends matter more. So I took my 15-year-old nephew out, and he got to drive the side-by-side while I hung out the side, and we found an antelope and got in on it and harvested. And then threw the meat in a cooler, drove it home, sat overnight, but then the next day I processed it in the kitchen. This is my first antelope in Utah. Antelope is not a common hunt. I've been putting in for it for some 18 years and finally drew out this year. So and what's that?
That's cool. That's cool. I know my father had an antelope years and years ago, but he only ever had one. But he the hunt.
They don't issue a lot of permits for antelope in Utah. But I harvested it, and so I processed it the next morning. I ended up with about 25 pounds of meat off of it. I roast packaged the hindquarters. Of course, the back strap's already gone. I gave a lot of back strap away. My dad, my brother, my grandmother, but I ended up with all of the shoulders. I jerkied that on Wednesday or Tuesday and made about, 5 or 6 pounds of jerky, and it's quite good.
So you said it doesn't taste gamey, huh?
No,
how does that work?
That's because I got it right on ice.
That's great. I'm not a fan of venison or game, and I can always taste it. My parents tried for years to sneak it past me, and I just can't. Even when it's far to throw a fake hamburger or steak meat packaging in the garbage can, and it made chicken fried steak, it was actually deer. I took one bite and I'm like, nope, no thank you, no thank you. They couldn't believe that I could taste it, but I could.
I've always been a fan of, I don't know, I love venison, elk. I go on an elk hunt head out to that in 3 weeks. So you might be on your own in a couple weeks for a night, but I enjoy it. I enjoy hunting and I enjoy harvesting, and I really enjoy consuming.
Well, and feeding your family, like you're feeding your tribe.
Oh yeah.
Your grandma
Oh, yeah.
will have that in her freezer all winter long, and probably your dad too, and just be able to make some great meals out of it.
Oh yeah.
That's
100%.
great. That's great. Well, welcome everybody to the show. Today is Friday, the 19th of September in the year of our Lord 2025. And we are a week and a day from that horrific moment at the UVU where we lost Charlie Kirk. And we are a week further into information and conspiracies and a lot of different changes around the country and the world. So I'd like to talk about this tonight, about Charlie Kirk's effect on the world, and good and bad. So just with this last week. So I love the thing you made. What is it that you make with the picture? Thumbnail?
Yeah.
So we could get right into it about Jimmy Kimmel, who we've talked about him before. We all remember him. Well, I remember him, and I know Jared does, on his days in the Man Show, where him and Adam Carolla were just really politically incorrect guys who appreciated women's physiques and made funny jokes. And it was a good laugh. I mean, it was actually a funny show that always ended, though, with girls on trampolines. So it was definitely a man show. But it was funny. I think it was on Comedy Central. And then all of a sudden, he just flips and he gets his own show, the night show, late night show with Jimmy Kimmel on ABC, and starts making a lot of money. But man, I remember him most from the COVID days, just like the other guy that's no longer there.
Yeah, well, and I still listen to Adam Carolla pretty much every day, and that's who he did the Man Show with.
Yeah, and they're very different politically.
They're still friends.
Yeah, well, that's great. But I mean, so during COVID, Jimmy Kimmel, I think this is where the audience started to dip in a major way, when he started talking about how hospitals shouldn't have to treat unvaccinated people. And he was really staunch on that belief, that if you're unvaccinated, only the vaccinated get emergency care and all of that at hospitals. And it was just such a ill-intentioned, I mean, it wasn't funny. It was just it was disgusting. It was gross. And then, his viewership started to lose viewers. I mean, and it just been plummeting since. So he, this week, had said something in the regards of the right is trying so hard to try to get away from the fact that the shooter's one of their own. And, he had zero love to give or condolences to offer. But it got to the point where local television stations, which have the power, decided we don't want him on our show in our community. And they reached out to ABC, owned by Disney, and said, he is not someone we want to show in our local area. Well,
there was that, but there was also a push from the FCC because there's an overall group that plans on purchasing some part of ABC or Disney, and so the FCC did come out and mention on TV, hey, we may have to rethink this, which it's not that the FCC was going to shut down them purchasing it. The FCC had to give them a waiver to purchase it because you're only allowed to have X percentage
Yeah.
of the market, and that would have put them over that percentage. So he said, you will have to look at whether we want to push that waiver forward or not. And so it does kind of fall into a gray area, but this is the outcome you get when you build a machine of cancellation. When you build a machine, it's going to be used against you. And, yeah. And I go back to when Obama went after different media reporters. And then when at the end of Trump's first term and all through Biden's administration, when YouTube and Facebook and everything, like if you mention certain things that they didn't like, they would shut you down. I mean, the only time, this show and its past iteration has been going on for 7 years now, 6 years. I can't remember how long, but it was canceled a few times or demarcated or whatever.
Demonetized. Yeah. A lot of
well, not even more than demonetized.
Shadow banned. So
not even those would have been fine. It was deleted and we were put in the doghouse multiple times by Facebook, by YouTube.
Twitter was a big one.
Yeah. And people,
Elon bought it.
And people got fired. Different conservatives got fired for speaking out against COVID. I mean, let's not forget the military scandal, but that was disobeying orders, not them just talking about it. So a machine was built, and now that pendulum has reached its apex, and that machine still exists. So yes, I agree. We should tear down the machine, but I also agree it kind of feels good.
And I'm with you there. It's nice. And the FCC just filed a lawsuit against someone regarding the way they do business. And when I first heard it, I was like, I don't want the government getting involved with free speech. This, no matter what the left will spin it as, Disney was losing millions of dollars on this guy and ABC. And they pay him $15 million a year, and his just the viewership was going down. People didn't just not watch him; they detested him. He had alienated half the country, and he was a schmuck. And to be honest, like, I want the free market to say, "Hey, you know what? We don't want him to play in our local areas in Utah because no one's watching. We could put something else on during that time slot and get a lot more views," which is what media cares about at the end of the day. And, or they could turn the other cheek and say, oh, that's just him. In fact, he even said, I'm unapologetic. I'm not going to apologize for this. And they were like, well, we're not either. You're gone. We don't need you. Have a good life. And now they're making it like he's a victim of Trump. And this is where it gets that gray area. I don't want the president doing what the last one did with the media or with big tech. I don't want that. Even though the pendulum is swung and they wrote the rules, I do not want our government getting involved with free speech in this country. Private markets can do whatever they want, but we're hitting a really fine line here of what is constitutional and what is not. And we believe in free speech. And that is, Jimmy Kimmel, tell me who you are. So I not only don't watch you, but I make sure to tell my friends why I don't watch you. Well, and, when Trump said, okay, now do, what's his name next? The other late night show guy who was from Saturday Night Live. Do you know his name?
Fallon. Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon. And I'm like, no. If the companies want to do that because they're losing money, just like The View, they were losing money. They were hemorrhaging. And
did The View get shut down?
On little clips. Well, they got put on a hiatus for a bit. I don't know their status right now. But if you're going to take on half of the United States, especially after an election with such a mandate, and have zero self-reflection or to realize that you've alienated these people. They're not coming back. Like in this day and age, any media company would be stupid to let something just hemorrhage money and not do something about it. And they put a stop to him pretty quickly. And he didn't even say the worst stuff he said in the past about conservatives. But it's the fact that he used this horrific event to give his opinion that the shooter was conservative and that we're just bending over backwards to try to separate ourselves. It was such a ignorant comment, only meant to fuel anger. But he said he wouldn't apologize, not that it would have mattered. And, during COVID and that whole everybody's getting shadow banned or censored or thrown off of not just the app, but off of the app store, off of the search engines. Like Alex Jones, I mean, he became a ghost overnight. Couldn't even do just a website. Like, if you don't like Alex Jones, not like Alex Jones. Just don't
Alex
watch him.
Jones is the epitome of what it looks like when government comes after your business.
Yes.
Because they went after his web host. They went after everything. But Perspective Salad says his contact was up for renewal. They may have been looking for a reason. This was a great opportunity to cancel his show and create more division, maybe. Yeah, that's true. They may have used it as an excuse. They may have been looking at it, and maybe with this new merger had it in there that, hey, we'd like to clear this up. It could have been a multitude of reasons. Now, the thing with Jimmy Kimmel, why I didn't watch his show, is because especially since 2016 or 2015, the buildup, Jimmy Kimmel's show became kind of free advertisement for the Democrat Party. He always had Democrat senators and Democrat governors on as guests. And if he had a Republican on, when he had a Republican on, it was usually, anti-Trump. Not that I was pro-Trump, but it all seemed like, it seemed like a free political ad to me, and it lost its comical value. So it became a late night show that had none of the things that drew me in to watch it. Now, and if you watched it and you're missing it now, I apologize. I'm sorry, but it is, and I sit here and I recognize the dangers of where we are going with this, where I'm going to say it outright. The Biden administration was the closest thing to fascism that we've had in this country in 40 years. Yeah. Where they put pressure on free market companies to enforce what the government wanted, which fascism is where the government has the free market enforce the government's edicts. And I'm not happy that the Trump administration's doing it. And I hope we don't see a furtherance of them doing it. But I have to say, I'm kind of giggling about it.
I mean, I'm going to sit back and watch and see, but I am absolutely against our government going after media.
I am too.
Even the owners of CNN have pledged to do more conservative representation on CNN, and they got one guy that's pretty great.
Yeah. What's his name?
I don't know, but you can see their numbers going up. And like I said, they're media companies. They make money. They're basically selling ads, and whatever's on television is the whatever goes between ads. Like, it's all about the money that comes in from these ads, which usually are big pharma ads all the time. I can't even stand to watch television.
Well, and I don't watch it
just because of all.
I don't watch it anymore for a couple reasons. One, it doesn't just show up on my TV like it used to. Now my TVs are always plugged into, well, for the dog, we turn on Cartoon Network stuff when we leave. And then the boss, she likes to watch reruns of like 10-year-old shows like Real Housewives of certain places, or
Grey's
no,
Anatomy or
she likes
Friends,
more reality stuff.
reality. Oh,
You know,
does she like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives?
probably. I don't know. I don't sit around for it.
Because my best friend came over and she's like, you have to watch it. And I don't watch reality TV. I think it's so scripted and lame, but I also don't understand why they're going off this Mormon thing. Cause I know a lot of Mormons, LDS folks, they do not behave this way, but that's their niche or whatever. But it was incredibly entertaining. And I'm so pro Taylor and that whole show, which I never thought I'd be. And
I don't know who that is.
I don't know. It's just the one we watched. It's Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I think it's on Hulu.
I don't think you'll catch me watching it, but she might watch it. I don't know. I hope if she does, she enjoys
it. It's a secret. Don't tell anyone. It's my dirty secret.
Don't tell anyone. I'll do my best not to.
Don't tell. But it's something me and Lauren do together, and it's just so much fun.
Well, good.
She got me hooked.
Well, that's
so about this reality shows and all of that. You know, you look at TLC. Holy cow! Is there anything they won't make a reality show about? Like you think it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, and they're like, wait, hold my beer, you know, and they make just insane content, and it just gets more and more. And I just don't. You know, I like the My 600 Pound Life. I like the message, and I like the doctor on there. But I feel bad watching these people struggle, or Hoarders, or some of the other shows that they play. And I'm just like, I don't want to contribute.
I've never watched any of those. Like, I haven't watched television.
I just see the clips online.
I probably haven't watched television in a decade. Once I kind of got into YouTube, that's kind of my outlet, because I'll click it on, and if it doesn't hold my attention, then I will I'll just start digging, see what's on there. And it's weird. Some people that I used to follow really have changed. You know, the Amazing Lucas, I used to follow him a lot. And now he's showing up on Pierce Morgan being like a BLM guy, which was weird. He was always kind of anti that. Matter of fact, he's coming out talking negative about Charlie Kirk. And he initially, he kind of got his start being kind of a guy for Charlie Kirk, one of his ambassadors for the Turning Point. So I don't know, maybe he had a change of heart in life, or maybe he just wanted different avenues of money. It's an opening where he thought he could do better.
So I want to talk about Turning Point.
Yes.
Charlie Kirk built Turning Point when he was like 19.
Yeah.
I think he was
him and another guy.
And it just was they would go to campuses, they started getting funding, and then they would grow and they would train other people. And he just said, the young people of this country need a voice, and they need to find their voice, and they need to make an impact, because they're going to be voting and people aren't listening to them, and they're not inheriting a better generation or a better outcome for their generation like we all did. It's the first time in history that this generation is not expected to do better than their parents. And Charlie Kirk was extremely an old soul. Like, for the way he thinks, I don't know if he's got a photographic memory. I don't know if he has some sort of learning ability that the rest of us don't have, but his ability to memorize the Bible, the Constitution, the Declaration, history, all these things was very special. And you could really tell that, I heard Rush Limbaugh talking about when he first met him, and he was so blown away at this kid that was of course, a huge fan of Rush Limbaugh, but he said, Rush said, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see this kid be a president someday. Like, he's got that it factor. And he compared it to like the young Bill Clinton, that in college, people in college always said, oh, that dude's going to be president someday, because he's got that ability to be friends with people and whatever.
Very
it was,
affable.
the charm. Yeah. And
you meet people like that.
And
that
so,
when you meet them, they make you feel like they see you and you're kind of, like you matter.
They leave a mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly leave a mark. And I think it comes down to the respect, the fact that
Bill Clinton definitely left a
at,
mark.
and
it was on a blue dress, but
oh, geez. So Turning Point, when his beautiful widow came out and talked about how this message is what this killer did not end this movement. This killer intensified it. And I'm paraphrasing, but she says, go to Turning Point. We are still growing. We're still going. So I went to Turning Point to see if we had a chapter here in Tooele County, and we do not. So I said, boom, I'm going to start one. So I went to the website, I applied to start one and get through everything, and the site's crashed. So I'm like, oh, so I did it 3 times. Every time the site crashed. Well, the next day, and this was Friday, so the next day was Saturday. The news comes out that they had 16,000 chapters.
So many colleges are trying to deny him.
And then colleges, high schools, but this was just the applications coming in. It did crash their site. So by Monday, it was 37,000 new chapters.
It's a lot
around this country.
It's
so much. And
I go back to that video that a lot of different YouTube channels have played of that girl saying, he's not martyr material. He's not going to be a martyr. And he obviously is. I think.
Well, look at our churches.
And we will get to that.
They've got 15% higher.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. The problem is that everybody has tried to show him saying something negative. Like he said, he said that Sheila Jackson Lee didn't have the mental acuity to hold the job she has as a congresswoman. And he's right about that. She's an utter moron. I mean, for someone to.
Absolutely. And she has a lot of violent rhetoric.
Yeah.
She was one of those Democrats that was very violent during the Trump administration.
Well, and she is now too. She got kind of subsided when there was a fallen soldier flight that came home, and she's down there in Houston, if I remember. Always wears a little mini cowboy hat. Looks like she's a retard. Anyways, she code switches a lot, I should say. Anyways, the flight comes home, and Trump meets the fallen soldier flight, and talks to the family. And then Sheila Jackson Lee immediately runs to the media and says, oh, he talked bad about the fallen soldier and talked bad about the family and ignored him. Yeah. Almost, she was saying that. Almost in the background, you could see Trump talking to the family and shaking their hand. And you're like, oh, he ignored the family. Okay. And then the family came out and said, no, he did not. So Sheila Jackson Lee, it appeared that she ignored meeting the family so that she could run to the news camera. And so that kind of stifled her. So she caught a little heat over that and shut up for a little while, but she isn't. And so she's on the floor saying that she got to go to college because of DEI. And that's where that statement that Charlie Kirk said pointed at her. And then, you know, he's made other statements, but they've always taken the paragraph statement and just clipped out half a sentence to try to point out that he was bad. Now, I never disliked Charlie Kirk at all. I always appreciated him. I always enjoyed watching his conversations with college kids, especially when he wiped out professors. I have watched him lose a couple debates. He went on a debate against Vosh on Tim Pool's show, where Vosh got the upper hand through most of the debate. But I always liked Charlie Kirk, and I always appreciated him. He always seemed like he was a humble man that strived to do something. So I never had anything negative to think about him. But to watch how people try to lambast this, kind of makes me laugh. So I
wanted to.
What's that?
Sorry, I don't want you to leave this subject yet.
Well, I was just going to say, I spent a good part of the weekend in the old Facebook ring of debates with people who did just that. And they kind of quit talking to me. I don't know if it's because they left looking stupid. I don't know. And everyone knows that I'm not a MAGA person. That seems to be their only answer when you ask them a pointed question. Oh, you're MAGA. Oh, yeah, I voted for him. But that's just because the other alternative was, you know, universal size dog turd. So, yeah, I voted for him, but the other one was a threat. So,
I agree. The other one had been a threat. I mean, we saw what they were capable of ourselves. You know, a young person said, you know, I was talking about Charlie, and she said, you know that he said that the abortion is worse than the Holocaust. You know that, right?
It's basic numbers.
First of all, why bring that point up when I am telling you something? And this is someone I'm extremely close to. So this isn't like me on my soapbox out there preaching. I was sad about it, and I was just talking about it, about his loss. And I said, when you say that after someone tells you they're sad about someone who's gone, that implies that he deserved it. And you're young, and I'm teaching you that your response shouldn't jump into be, you know, he thought that he said this. I said, and the other thing is context. I know the speech you're talking about and the dialogue he was having, and it is about numbers. 64 million babies have been murdered since abortion became legal in this country.
It was,
and 6 million were murdered in Germany. Both were innocent bystanders of this world. But one, they've been able to actually, with the abortion and with all these college kids, I noticed they were able to brainwash them to think it's nothing but a clump of cells and not a person. And that's what Hitler was able to do with the German people regarding
maybe a
Jews.
little.
They're not even up here with
maybe a little
them.
dehumanization, kind of like what we get from the left lately towards anyone not hard left. Like they've gotten to where they dehumanize liberals. It's gotten crazy.
Yeah, they're eating their own. And this is what I'm saying. Like I said, and you know, I'm glad that you feel open, but please always try to get the context. And what people need to remember this is something that I have to remind myself all the time. The algorithm in this country, and the algorithms on all your social media devices, they know you so well. They're feeding you what you want to hear. And they're feeding your friend over here that thinks differently than you what they want to hear. So they're not seeing the videos I'm seeing that make me really love Charlie Kirk and his message, and my faith and Jesus Christ and these things that matter to me. They're not seeing the same thing. So we have to remember that when we're having an open dialogue with someone, that we're also not seeing what they're seeing. And we should be able to discuss ideas without violence. And yet check your algorithm, because you don't want to be in an echo chamber. That does minimize your ability to, one, have a conversation, and two, have any empathy for the other side, which is needed if we're going to live in a country that's divided. Like, we have to know.
I found myself this weekend starting to delete people who said things like that. And I had that exact thought that, oh man, I'm deleting people over politics when I should, because I follow lots of left-wing and Democrat political YouTubes to kind of hear what they're saying, not for argument research, but I want to know, is there other sides of the news story that I'm not getting? Jordan says, yo, hey Jared, don't feel bad. Politics is polarized. The progressive left handle a different point of view. I voted libertarian and I'm not MAGA. I feel sometimes I get labeled as MAGA. As a libertarian, I identify myself as a classical libertarian. I am classical liberal. I'm a Lockean liberal. I'm not a Rousseauian liberal. Our Democrat class is Rousseauian liberal, and the Rousseauian liberal is the liberals that big government and that are born out of, where you're not an individual so much as you are a part of a larger whole. And the Lockean liberal is the English liberalism. And that's where I fall. I'm very much individualistic, and I too would be a libertarian if they would ever show up to the party and put some stuff forward that could con me in. But I'm rather extreme libertarian. When my true views come out, it shocks most normal people. That's just who I am, though.
Well, Jared, this is the thing. This is where we're at. The people, I mean, grammar matters. Words matter. And it is a tactic that it's the Communist Manifesto. I mean, you change the words, you change the meanings, you change people's ability to speak and hinder their speech or punish them for speech. So liberal did mean something different. Conservative meant something different. And being called MAGA now is the new racist.
I know.
It's the new
simple.
It's a way for them to try to drag you down and yet make America great again.
It's the new simple argument. Europe needs to have that, because Europe was the technological center of the world. And then it went socialist. Go socialist and you give up being the tech. Well, you know what? You can go socialist and be the technological center of the world if everywhere else is communist. But you cannot be, I mean, what is Europe working on AI wise, or any of the future programs wise? What is Europe working on? Nothing. They're bringing nothing new to the table. They've given up.
They're trying to stop a civil war, a war that is happening within Europe that they started.
Well,
their mass immigration, refugees, and everything. Our adult kids are in.
I would argue,
and hold on. After this Charlie Kirk thing, I reached out because I've seen these marches in the street. They're having
Yeah,
major protests in England.
What do your kids say about that?
And the kids are saying that it is crazy. Like, it's amazing and a bit scary, but it's also quite amazing. Like, it's to see 1 million
Easy.
people just in London.
They tried telling us that was,
and they're protesting the immigration and the government's overreach on their speech, on their social media. There's people going to jail for posts they make. Like, Trump was there, what, today or yesterday, when he went to see the king.
When he went to see, the king, and he met with Keir Starmer. But I remember the BBC saying, like 110,000 people showed up, and they showed the video.
Yeah.
And I was like, 110,000? That's a lot more. Like, they were zoomed out to where you saw multiple city blocks and you saw zero road. It was all people.
It was
every
packed.
Direction. It looked like, I mean, it looked like it was easy millions. Jordan says, I'm still in shock. Jordan says, I'm still in shock because I went to the Charlie Kirk event at UVU, and I'm trying to be patient and have a human-to-human connection. It's such a tragedy for what happened to Charlie. And try having that human and build bonds with those people on the other side. We need to figure out how to show each other we're human. And I apologize last week for my pissivity, because I was pissed beyond all pissivity. And I shouldn't show that. Yeah, I made it up. But it still stands. Everything that I said last week, I am not going to give in to any more of the liberal inquisition that you get. Any of the little stuff. So if they want to come after me for dumb stuff, I'm not going to give in. And I'm not going to apologize. I'm not doing any of that. They went too far. And I think this is the price they have to pay for going too far, is now their voice is just a little quieter in my book. Yanni me taxes. me taxas? I don't know. Man, is it me tax ass? I don't know. Anyways, he says, I think social media only shows the extremes of both sides and is making people fight against each other. And I think you're 100% correct.
Yep,
that's a very good comment. And these are all coming from.
If we're divided, we can be controlled, far easier controlled by our government if we are divided.
Oh, yes.
It's so much easier. And we're like sheep. I mean, literal sheep.
I don't even know if the government, I do think there's probably evil organizations working behind the scenes in the government that control and have the pulse. But I would more argue it's more right now at this stage in time. Those are your Zuckerberg and your Elon Musk. Those are the ones that have the levers of power. I would argue most of our elected government, they don't know what's going on. I mean, if their hands were in their back pockets, they wouldn't be able to find their ass, because it's all moving too fast for them. They're arguing stuff that happened last year.
And some people would say that it's all about revenge right now for the MAGA movement and Donald Trump. And he's just trying to get even and all of that. Part of me is saying, can you blame him? I mean, they were destroying his life.
Even if he's not getting even, he was very much more selective about his cabinet this time. He did not take like the regular run-of-the-mill Republican Party's offerings into account. He said, no, he drew in his close team, and they selected who's in the cabinet. And that's how you get these people in the cabinet that move in lockstep. And it's amazing. There hasn't been a president who's done this much in his first year as Trump, like ever.
And I don't
Ever.
see this as revenge. What I
No.
see it as fixing a wrong, fixing something that was being used against Americans, not right, not left. And I'm here to tell you, I do not agree with Trump's power grabs on some things, as I've already said.
Yeah.
If he's invited into Memphis, man, go. If a
Yeah.
governor reaches out and says, "Hey, I need the help of you and the National Guard," go. But if
And the
Chicago
mayor
says,
down there.
yeah, and if Chicago says you're not coming into my city, then you respect that. And
The
people in
mayor
Chicago
is
should move, because they're not going to be protected by the state that is required to protect them.
Yeah, well, what they need to do is vote. They need to vote different. But
Vote
the
different.
mayor of Memphis, a black Democrat, is all on board with Trump coming in. That's a good sign for him to go, you know what, come in, make it quick. You know, they come in, the National Guard mostly just does kind of litter cleanup, beautification, but that's still Jordan
Homeless
says.
camp movements.
Well,
But again, it's
yeah.
the governor's decision at the end of the day. Whether the mayor wants it or not, it's the governor's choice. And for the governor to reach out, that to me shows that he cares about his people and he wants change. And I don't care what person is in the White House. States should be able to request that of the federal government when it gets to be too much. I really think that's important.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Jordan says, my mom told me that UVU was offering free counseling, but I think the state and universities always make the problem worse for the citizens of Utah. Oh, that's a tough one. If you're having PTSD from this, Jordan, if you're not going to take the free counseling or anything else, find that form of counseling or that form of camaraderie that helps you through it. That's a terrible event that you witnessed. I've never been to a counselor or any of that. I think, I hope that, if it is troubling you that bad, you can figure out how to find some solace with it. I know when I was younger, in my late 20s, I like 2 years in a row, right around 4th of July, I witnessed two things. Like I witnessed a car wreck where I was trying to give CPR to a guy that was not here anymore, and the deputy talked me out of it. And then the very next year, I witnessed another car accident where the cars were on fire. So it kind of gave me a little bit of a weird feeling come around 4th of July, because they both happened like on the 3rd, year after year. So it stuck with me for a little while. I can't say I went to a therapist to get out of it. I think just time, I'm a 50-year-old man now. That was 30 years ago, got me out of it. But I will say, interestingly, that first family, I actually met them again about 10 years ago during like a Christmas gift push that I was a part of. And well, that was pretty wild to see the kids. They were, 20 at the time now. It was interesting. It was, we don't need details on it. It was
Jordan, I would like to say that I don't know if you're a man of faith, but prayer is very important to help you kind of deal with that and think about it. And sometimes therapy isn't the answer if they want to just go over what happened and you relive it over and over, but you find some peace in what you saw. Human beings aren't meant to see something like that. I really don't think that humans are, most of us, that shook us and to be there in person. Imagine how that must eat at you and bother you when you close your eyes. You've seen something horrific. But again, besides meditation or prayer and finding others, like Jared said, that also maybe have been there, that were there and witnessed it, but you have the whole world witnessed the actual thing. So, find support groups. open dialogue where you go in and you talk about it with people who can know what you're going through also. And if the college isn't, if they're offering it, you know, you at least got a place where a lot of kids and young people saw what you saw.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can talk it over, but we're talking about something on such a massive scale.
Get a feel for it.
People,
If it's just talk therapy and they try to have you come in week after week just to talk about it, that's not a solution. And males don't do well in talk therapy. They do well in, what's it called? EMDR or something. It's a different type of therapy. I don't know anything about it. That's just, Jordan Peterson talked about it, but
cognitive
talk therapy,
therapy,
I don't know.
where they don't medicate, they walk you through what's going on in like if it's anxiety,
I think
PTSD, but they're not trying to relive that moment over and over.
it's not just that. I think with males, it's got to be a therapy that has solution oriented, that has a checklist of things to take care of. But anyways, we're sidetracked into therapy. I know nothing about it. Although we could send you to Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren's in another state now.
Oh yeah.
Well, she does remote.
Yanni says, I just don't get the hate with Charlie Kirk. Like, sure, I didn't agree fully with him, but calling him a fascist is crazy. Aren't the people killing others because they don't agree the real fascists?
Yes.
Yes. And the left has to own this. They have to wear this badge that they called everyone that politically disagreed with them. They called them fascist. And so now that's a badge they have to wear, that they didn't bring an argument, they brought a word, which is the same thing you get from them now with MAGA. That,
yeah.
you know, and so that you can't argue anyone's ideas or go toe to toe on ideas or even work out a solution. You just go to calling them X,
which
and
means
then
they've
shun
already
them.
lost the argument. When they
Yep.
get to that point where they're name calling, they've lost the argument. They don't have facts to stand on.
And I'm going to tell you this right now. I watched, when I was a young man, the Republicans do this with the Democrats through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And the Republicans had something. They didn't have something. There was something that kind of operated like Antifa. It wasn't a part of the Republican Party. Honestly, they came out of the Democrat Party, which is funny. But they hated the modern day Democrats, and that was the Nazi bank robbers that operated down Arkansas, Louisiana, and that. And they reminded me, I know all that. Anyways.
No, I have allergies and my eyes are watering,
mm-hmm.
my nose is running. So please forgive me if I'm.
Yes, it but it reminds me of this Antifa, although Antifa is much larger, equally as violent, and Antifa seems to be spread out a lot further. We didn't have neo-Nazi or white supremacist bank robbing groups up here. That was something that was completely born out of the South. They were a group that of previous Democrat youth KKK, as far as I know, I might be making some crap up, but previous youth KKK members that got disillusioned with the Democrat Party, leaning into, you know, social welfare and all that. And so they kind of split off, and then they got radicalized in their own separate groups over a period of 20 years. Then it came out in the end, they were robbing banks. And that was, I mean, that was the groups that ultimately led up to being tied to the Oklahoma City bombing and things like that.
So Antifa, I think Trump has now declared them, or is considering declaring them, a terrorist group. But see, I remember Antifa when they first started. I mean, they were going to college campuses where conservatives were at. They would wear masks, and they would literally have baseball bats and would threaten people if they didn't leave. And it didn't matter. Like, it was all kinds of conservatives that just decided that it's not worth it. I'm going to get killed at one of these campuses and it's not worth it. And Antifa prided themselves on that. And then when the riots start, Antifa is the ones that are being bussed in. And they're the ones who are always wearing masks, like ICE is accused of wearing. But they're there to intimidate and threaten on a political view. So that is terrorism. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah.
what it is. So most of the Democrat Party wouldn't even admit Antifa is real. They won't even admit it.
Well, Antifa's an idea.
People who live in Oregon, and Antifa is very real.
Oh, yeah.
In Portland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're real. And yes, it is an idea, but it's people who hold on to that idea. They're modern day Bolsheviks. 100%. They're real. And just like, you know, if I mean, every ideology, every political ideology has had periods of time when they've had radicals that commit violence. Every group. I mean, always been there. And it flows and history flows. And then during certain times they become the intellectual side and the other side might become violent. Sometimes both sides become the intellectual side. Sometimes both sides become the violent side, and it flows and ebbs and changes. You know, right now, Antifa needs to be stamped out. If you catch them little nitwits, we need to have swift justice. And I want to say this about going back to my earlier kind of apology for last week's festivities.
It's a great word.
Crowder's come out and talked about it. He's saying we need to, as conservatives or, you know, anarchists, we need to make sure that when violence is brought to us like that, we have a swift response. So there was a saying when I was in the military and then on the SWAT team, the speed, surprise, and violence of action. And that's, I think, what we need to do when people come to us with violence, with the ball bats. We need to react with speed, and we need to surprise them, and we need to be violent. We need to shut them down immediately. We need them to put their tail between their legs and scurry off to a hole. And then we need to get the law enforcement involved, and law enforcement needs to make sure they're held accountable.
Yeah, DAs and prosecutors.
Unmask them. If they come in and assault you, step 1 is bust a body part. Step 2 is pull the mask off and make sure it's on video. Jordan says, great news. It's my birthday on Wednesday, and his brother's birthday is on Thursday. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, Jordan.
Happy birthday, Jordan.
Yeah, I hope you have an awesome birthday.
And we appreciate you. We love that you tune in and participate in our show.
Jordan's
I want to say hi to Fred Swain too, who we've missed you, Fred.
Fred, how are you doing, man? We need to get together and have breakfast.
Yes, I'd like to get together and have breakfast with you and Fred.
Yeah.
Not me inviting.
It won't be as fun a breakfast as me and Fred talking crap with your gentle ears being there, but we can make it happen.
Oh, come on. I've got too many brothers to worry about that. So Fred says one might not want to threaten me with a baseball bat. And that's 100%. How I felt. I'm trying to think. Her name was it Anne? What was the lady's name who said on Bill Maher's show when he's like, so who do you think's going to end up being president? Well, before, and she said Donald Trump, and they laughed at her.
Oh, Ann Coulter.
Ann Coulter, she was being threatened at a college campus, and I want to say it was the one in UCLA. I think I don't know. It was just unbelievable how they all came up, all in their masks and their hoods, and it was terrifying. And the other students there didn't feel safe. And they came in like a wrecking ball. People are like, where are these people coming from? I don't know if any of them even go to this college. Well,
yeah,
Very well,
remember
it might
when
not.
remember when they shut down, and then the colleges leaned into it and said, "Oh, well, you'll have to pay for extra security," and that was fascism, where the colleges stifled free speech by demanding a cost for people to go there. And that's the minute that the federal government should have said, yeah, we're done funding you until you correct that, until you figure out ways to do it. So I'm completely on board. No more funding for colleges until, one, they get parity at least with their state. So they get parity, which means if your state is 60% Democrat and 40% Republican, I want to see that on your faculty. I want you to push for that. I want you, yes, it's sad. Some professors will have to lose their job, but you need to argue for that. You need to have parity in your list of instruction. And then if a college ever denies a speaker's right, a state-funded college, BYU, do whatever you want, don't care. But a state-funded college, that means my money here in Utah is going to you for you guys to subdue my wants. Well, then you don't get my money anymore. I wouldn't give my money to, some weirdo down the street that's negative towards me. I don't want to do it to the colleges.
I think that goes along too with public school.
That's the next step. Well, we just
From
need
the
to
ground up, we
need to get rid
more
of public school.
We need to make sure our culture is represented from K through PhD.
And
that if you're in a state that has this value, these values and all of that, that at least it's reflected in the people teaching. So kids have other options in professors. If they are, if they don't want an activist for a professor, they have other options to maybe get a libertarian. They're great professors if you can find them.
Yeah.
And I think we need to do something like that and use the purse, because you're right. If we stop funding schools like that are actually tearing our children from us, ideology and everything, they're tearing their God from them. They're doing things that are against what is best for their future as citizens in this country. And I think college should be accountable for their rising tuition costs. Show me why you're putting your tuition at this rate when the graduation is lower, the graduation rate is dropping, and most of the people don't go into this field that they're paying all this money for.
Yeah, it's the recovery through the job market. I think that's something we need to say, ooh, you guys, but that's what happens when the government funds something. It's just how it goes. If the government started funding vehicles, we'd all be driving Lardas right now.
What?
It's a car from the USSR, piece of junk built in copy of a Fiat that was 30 years old at the time. But anyways, that's where we'd be, and I also would like to talk about, if we're done with that subject, I don't know. Do you want to keep rolling on that subject, or do you want to move?
I just want to add, though, on the Turning Point USA and this reaction from Charlie Kirk, this is a beautiful thing to witness, that Bibles are being sold. People are opening a Bible for the first time. People are going to church for the first time. And it doesn't matter the denomination. Every church they've got fuller pews, and they are looking towards the message of God. And I think they're looking for that peace from what they witnessed. Why was it so important to Charlie Kirk to be so upfront and to do this? And he talks about the armor of God, and he really felt it wherever he went, and felt like this was his calling in life, and to give the young people some idea of God and truth. And I think that it's such a beautiful thing to witness, honestly, that people are searching for the light in this dark time, instead of rioting and causing more darkness.
Yeah, look at the Republicans. look at the Republicans' response to this action.
Yeah.
Had a Democrat speaker been shot like that, we'd have lost years of economic value. The Republicans went out and had candlelight vigils. Though I did like watching that guy get his butt beat down in Arizona that stomped on it. And the people grabbed him, threw him around, kicked him on the ground, and then the police came and arrested him. And that is the response we need.
Did you know, I just heard Glenn Beck talk this morning about, because he knows the security team that was watching out for Charlie Kirk. And as we're going to get into the next whatever subject, I do want to talk about the conspiracies that are being brought out and around regarding his security team.
Let's finish up. Well, let's go into those next. I also wanted to talk about all the people who's complaining about getting fired, but I think we should go into the conspiracies next and then finish off on a sane note. I mean,
Okay, I'll just finish then. He was talking about how the security team was dealing with this and how devastated they are. And him and Charlie Kirk were very good friends. In fact, used, I think, a lot of the same security, or at least the business. But Glenn Beck said UVU was supposed to cover rooftops and things like that. They assured them, and he trusted them. This was new. I'd never heard this. I thought Charlie Kirk would have been the one responsible for that type of security. But no, UVU said they would do it. And that just really, if it's true, again, we're hearing all these different accounts, but that upsets me. Colleges can't have people on their campus they can't protect. And what if Charlie Kirk wasn't the person that was hit, and it was a student just participating in the courtyard at this college, and the college was supposed to be watching? I just thought that was interesting. And these security guys are devastated.
Yes, and they're only close in security. They're only security that manage right in his direct area. That's all they are. I've watched them 100 times.
They had others all around the facility also, and they're all armed.
They're close in security. They're the ones that stand behind him. They make sure people don't come up and grab him.
Yeah.
They don't operate with a counter sniper, with the long gun and things like that. Would it be a good idea? But those are different. There's not many in-country security agencies that will have sniper and counter sniper operations. And I imagine that's because you can't, because that's where you're taking this security for this area and you're expanding it out to areas where you don't have visual control. So, and essentially, and I'm sure the college didn't plan for this to happen. I'm sure they weren't part of it. No. I think it's just that the colleges thought, well, he's done it a million times. It's a flash in the pan. We don't want to put too much effort towards it. We have to do it because it's constitutional that we have to do it, but we're not going to put effort towards it. So UVU hopefully learned a lesson on that. There are a lot of conspiracies.
I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to go take this pup out really fast.
Yeah, our co-host wants some attention.
Yeah.
Anyways, so now that we've got a minute and Holly will be gone, lay the conspiracies on me that you've heard on this. Let's have them. Like, I'll start off with one. I've heard the conspiracy that, and sadly, Candace Owens has, I enjoy watching her stuff, but I have a hard time with some of the stuff she says on this subject. Everyone, there's a group of people who's trying to say, well, Israel did it. And I'm not seeing evidence of that. And then everyone's saying, well, this kid's a patsy, and someone else fired the shot. And I'm telling you right now, so they're like, well, he has to be trained. It's not that complicated of a shot. He could be I'm relatively familiar with the weapon system and complete that shot. And it also accounts that he shot a gun that was zeroed in at 100 yards and it hit high at 200 yards because that's what a 30-06 would do. Just because, you know, line of sight and then the trajectory. And it's sad. It's all of it's sad. It's all awful. But man, the backlash, like Holly was saying, who would have thought that it would have caused religion to bloom, that it would have caused Turning Point to take over? I mean, Democrats who cheered this on at first need to now look at this and go, they may have, this may be a focal point come the midterms. That's a big deal.
Okay, so you were talking about Candace Owens.
Yeah, bring your camera on.
I'm on. Do you see me?
No, we do not.
Well, that's weird. Because I can see myself.
Can you now? There. Okay. Now we're looking at the front of your house. Oh, there she is.
So Candace Owens, I've heard her thoughts that Israel's behind it. And she actually said there was a meeting with Charlie Kirk. And now Candace Owens, is she a reliable source? When it comes to Charlie Kirk, they were very, very close.
They were. She got her start in Turning Point.
And she said the only people who could shut me up are my husband or Erica Kirk. Now, with that in mind, she's still going. And she said there's just too many things. And that she had a meeting, that Charlie called her and said he had just been in a meeting where it was suggested that he helps them, Israel, helps them do a smear campaign against Tucker Carlson and just really get the idea of Israel, just whatever it is. But they offered him $150 million and he declined. And they offered him a trip to Israel to meet with Netanyahu and he declined. And she said he was very bugged by it because they made it sound like he would be sorry. And he's like, I'm not selling my soul for $150 million. Now, this is her perspective, and she thinks it's mighty coincidental that within a week he's gone. Now, is she reliable? I mean, I don't know. Has Erica asked her to stop talking about it? I don't know, but she is bringing up a lot of things that are a little bit sus. Here's something that hit me in a really off-putting way, and it was the text message to his roommate, his lover, who...
Oh, the kids.
Yes. It's like he put everything wrapped up in a perfect bow for conviction. Remember those bullets I was engraving? Yeah, I dropped the gun. I got to go back and get it. I changed my clothes, but there's just too much that's just too wrapped up in a little bow that doesn't, to me, feel like a real conversation. But when my husband and I first read it, I was like, this isn't real. Like, and my husband was like, well, yeah, they just released it. And I said, this doesn't feel right. It just feels like, hey, I got to get my grandpa's gun back. My dad's going to be asking, my old man's going to be asking for it. I don't know if there's a serial number on it, but that scope is like $2,000. I wrapped it up in a towel and I'm watching it now until this deputy leaves. I can't get to it. I may have to leave it behind. You know, it felt like it's just too perfect, you know, to say, hey, and the kid is pleading not guilty, which you would probably expect he would, you know, you can still plead not guilty and have a mental insanity case, for example. I don't know what the attorneys are going to go for there, but conspiracy theories they don't just happen. They happen when information isn't coming in. And now it's so natural, our mistrusting society. It is a natural thing for people to question. And what I don't like is her implication of our governor to say that he's behind this. Well, why? Why would our governor want to put Utah in this light, or to risk college students, and Kash Patel, and I know the sheriff of Utah County. He's an honorable man, very honorable and a trustworthy man. And for this to be so wrapped up in a bow, it just feels off to me. But it's that off feeling that stirs in people to want to blame. And the way the bullet hit Charlie Kirk, we saw that he was this and down. So ballistics would tell anybody that he was hit either this way or this way, but it still looked like he went down to the left. And they're telling you that he was shot from 200 yards, and it from the front. He didn't go backwards. He did this.
Bullets don't generally knock you over.
But don't you think a high velocity bullet would?
No. You got to remember, if a high velocity bullet is knocking you over, that means sending it from the gun would have the same, if not more, force.
So closer.
What do you mean closer?
The gun would have been closer than 200 yards?
No, further away. 200 yards is correct.
Because this is the other thing, when they show you the map of where the shooter was, and yet people, the internet, they're diving in, and then they bring up the fact that security took all the chips, the memory cards out of the cameras. Well, of course they did. I can only imagine you've got these. Of course, I would, if it's me and it's my guy that I'm protecting, I take those and I make copies of those, and then I hand over to the FBI. But it's people are finding these holes, and that's the problem. If they're not filled with information, people will create information. The security team with their signs, on the hat. Did you see that?
When they're moving around,
they're making like signs. Glenn Beck said that's very common. Security communicates like that. And especially when they've got teams out there in the crowds, they'll direct people to look at other people, take a look at this person, and not necessarily use a radio, or they'll just use hand signals. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what the autopsy showed. I'm not sure.
Let me show you guys a picture real quick. I just drew this real quick. And it's a fun one. Okay, so here on this side, right there, we have a gun, right? And I don't know if you see it very well, but if you don't, that's okay. So your line of sight coming out of the scope is straight. It does not move. It does not, we're not going to go into details, but your line of sight is straight, dead on. The bullet leaves the gun on that style of gun, probably an inch and a quarter lower than your line of sight. If that gun is zeroed at 100 meters or 100 yards, roughly, that's where the bullet crosses your line of sight. And then it travels up, because remember, the bullet came out lower than your line of sight. So it crosses, boom. And that's your 100 meter. When he shoots at paper, that's his zero. That's the dope on the gun. After that, it's climbing, and then it crosses again. I think on a 30-06 with that barrel length at probably about 330 meters. That means in between 100 meters and 30 meters, that bullet is going to be high. And that's why everyone's thrown off by the bullet being higher than center mass. Like, oh, why'd he shoot at his head, or he missed, or no, he shot center mass on a rifle that was zeroed at 100 meters. And
I thought it was 200.
Well, the rifle zeroed at 100, which
okay.
means he hit at 200, which is right here.
Well,
so the red line, I don't know. Can you see my picture, Holly?
Yes, I can see it.
So the red line is the bullet travel. The blue line is the line of sight.
So the further the distance, the higher the arc, or no?
Up until 200 meters, then it starts dropping again, and it crosses back through at 300 meters.
So I guess with this information that people are trying to fill the gaps, and I have to say, hi, Chris, love you. The information that's coming out, it was such a whirlwind and so quick. And I know a lot of people are like, this feels wrong, and what the heck, what are we going to do? We can't let this turn into the same thing as the Trump shooter, early on. We have to get to the bottom of this. And it's just, I don't like it. I don't like conspiracy theories, especially this soon. But then there's people saying we don't want a Las Vegas shooter situation where we don't know motive, but here's motive, here's evidence, here's actual, apparently he's given all of the evidence possibly needed to tie everything together in a quick text to his lover, who claims to have no idea he even was planning it.
That part, okay. Now you want to lean into that part of, I believe the lover had an idea. Not only do I believe that, but there has been a lot of people has scrubbed Discord and different messages. There has been a lot of people from their group of friends, and also there's a budding LGBTQ militia in Utah. And they've all kind of said, watch for the 10th. The 10th is going to be a big day. This is going to be, and so I think there's a bigger group. I think we need to figure out, that's going to be a tough one. Ken Jack Ben says you're conspiratorially minded, or you're conspiratorially mind rotted if you believe any of that BS. And I don't blame Holly. For a minute there, I didn't entertain what they said, but that's because I've got a past life where I was intimately familiar with what these operations do, which is why I can scribble that picture and break it down for you. Why?
And I don't believe the conspiracy. I'm repeating what people are saying.
What breaks my heart is that Candace Owens was tight with him and then but I hope she's not using this to make money. I hope, I don't know. But right now she is kind of mind trapped into everything is Israel all the time. And that's where her mind trap is. So she's fallen into that.
And she has an audience for it. And she's getting for it.
There are a lot of people who think that way.
Yeah.
There are. And it's sad. I wish there wasn't, but there are. Now I've let everyone know what I am not positive on Israel, and I'm ambivalent on the whole situation. I don't think we need to support it, but I'm not anti that. And I don't see them as, an evil. I don't see them as being a part of this. I do believe that my conspiracy is Trump gets into office, the LGBT community starts gathering and grumbling that they're under threat. They whip themselves into a fervor. Apparently they've got some ex-Marine they're kind of like in charge of them. And they just start whipping and whipping and whipping, and either as a group came up with this plan or this sole individual who has a trans friend, whatever, their lover, feels they're a threat and he works it on his own. But just the way that some of the information coming out makes me think that the whole group had an idea about it. So they probably chatted about it on their Discord during their video games, things like that. Is my thoughts, but I don't know.
That's it. We don't know. And it's
Yeah.
into the investigation. And we need to let the investigation happen. And I do hope they've done an autopsy. I do hope they are crossing every T and dotting every I. And do you see who the judge was?
No.
For his, it was Tony Graff. Our Tony Graff.
He's the judge?
He was the judge that read him his charges when
What?
Peter went to court.
I listened to it. I didn't watch it. I listened to it. That was Tony. Good job,
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah.
Moving on up. Well, I'm happy to say
judge in Utah County.
I'm happy to see Tony not be involved with prosecuting those child crimes. That has to be a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. But he was the right one to deal with it.
He was, but man, could you imagine having
No.
that job?
No, and I think it's a job that unfortunately has a very short lifeline.
Oh, it does with cops
It
too. With
overwhelms police officers and prosecutors so quickly, especially when they've got littles at home.
it's heavy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay,
stepmom
I got to
was-
step away for a minute to let a little house guest out real quick.
See, we both have this. How funny.
I got to pee.
Oh,
But keep talking to him. Keep talking conspiracies. I'll be right back.
well, here's the thing, folks. I hate conspiracies, especially right now. I love Charlie Kirk. I was lucky enough to meet him. He's been a huge influence in my life for, a decade. I probably, especially since 2016 through the elections, I really loved, what I love about him was his faith, that he represented, like what you see is what you get. He lived by example, and I loved his ability to reach young people and empower them with a message, and to let those that maybe had conservative values come out of the shadows. And I want to make sure that people pay attention to these videos you're seeing online, these short snippets. If you feel like there's something way off in the video, try to find the whole thing and get context, because context is important. He was a huge figure. And with what's going on right now in the country, with the 2 assassination attempts on Trump, with this on Charlie, I said last week, it must be what my parents felt like during the 60s when JFK and RFK and Martin Luther King, and you get Marilyn Monroe, and they're losing all these people in weird ways, and then the information isn't shared openly, so people fill it in, and rightly so, especially with JFK. Like you fill it in, and the government just keeps it quiet for decades and decades. And that's how conspiracies grow. And I want to make sure this investigation is handled so perfectly. So I'm proud of the way the governor was addressing it to the people, especially in that time of absolute horror that all of us were feeling, especially here in Utah, where this was our backyard.
He's kind of come out shining from this. I mean, even the left-wing news stations are like, oh, he's, been responsible. Yeah. Fred says it's very likely that the old guy arrested and the student who pointed him out as the shooter were paid to create a distraction to give time for an escape. The old guy is a frequent flyer with the Orem PD. They all knew him. Yes.
I know him.
He's been
Orem PD. That's George Zim. And he actually has been to many of our GOP conventions.
He's been a delegate a few times.
Yes. And we all know him, and we just kind of consider him a troublemaker, a pot stirrer, even a little maybe mental illness there, and all of that. And I mean, it was crazy, but I almost wonder if he was trying to get suicide by cop that day.
Notoriety. Well,
Kept saying, shoot me. And people were screaming at him that you need to burn in hell and all this. And I saw a video where the cops walking him saying, settle down. We don't even know if he's the guy yet. Like, settle down. And he's saying, just kill me. Just kill me. I mean,
and he may be just a mentally ill person that this happened and he just goes off. But that young guy who pointed out the shooter on the roof, also there's a young guy in the video that kind of, when everyone else ducks and runs, this guy like jumps up and focuses on it. So I don't know. I don't know. I do think there is a lot. I think here's the hard part. I do not want to see us get vitriol against the LGBTQIA plus Bamalama Ding Dong group. But if there was a group of them doing this, I don't know how to avoid it. So I'm gonna put a message out now to the LGBTQIA plus Bamalama Ding Dong Two Spirit, whatever group. Now's the time when you guys need to make sure you fully cooperate publicly. And if you know anything, you need to come forward with it. You don't want it to come out that there was a group of 10 or 20 of you that committed this, because you're such a small group. You would be pretty easy for the community to go against. And you don't want that. So you need to get ahead of this. And it's not to say you're guilty. I don't want you to feel this. I have lots of friends who are in the mostly L group, because I worked at Detroit Diesel at one time, but I have lots of friends that are in, in close proximity to that. You've got to take the steps to make sure that your innocence is assured, and us on the outside, we can't say, oh, well, the whole group's innocent. The whole group has to step up. So if you know something, turn them in, call the police. If you've got any kind of record or anything you can hand it over. They're digging it up and they're finding it now. And if this guy acted alone, you're free and clear. But if they come in and find out that, 5 people were involved through a Discord network or whatever, it's going to paint the whole group. You guys need to take the steps you can't afford to have the regular citizen have a negative outlook towards you.
Well, the negative outlook is happening, and I want to absolutely avoid that at all costs. These, especially the L's and the G's, they're trying to live their lives. They wanted equality. That's what they fought for decades. They want to just live their lives. And I know a lot of the G's and L's are part of the conservative party.
Yeah, they've moved into it. They got their Stonewall movement. They can now marry and all that. So now they're like, okay, next thing I want is I want a secure nation to live in. So you know what? The conservatives fight for a secure nation. The liberals, they kind of want to bring in a whole bunch of, well, maybe people who prefer Sharia law. That doesn't work well for me. Or maybe they want to destroy, or not destroy. They want to utterly change the economy so that it's an economy that disparages those of us who maybe has a little more money. We didn't have kids, so we had all that money, and yeah. So then they start moving into conservatism or the Republican side. I mean, the Republicans, I'm sure have a substantial lesbian and gay cadre in them, but
We can't have any violent rhetoric, period.
we don't want it.
I believe they did talk about a Discord group that Kash Patel mentioned, that they've read some of the conversation in there, and not everyone in that group was happy about this. And
Yeah,
told
those are
him,
the ones that need to come forward now.
yes,
They need to show any receipt they have. Like, hey, I wasn't a part of this. You
Do we
know,
even know if he was part of that group, that militia? Because I've never heard that he's a part of it. I've just seen this is a militia in Salt Lake, but I don't know that he's tied to it. I know he was a gamer, and there's a Discord with a group and gaming, but I don't know if the two are tied.
I don't know.
I hate to have LGBTQ thrown into this as a cover of all.
Well, that'd be awful. That'd be a second worst outcome.
We have to have accountability for those involved. Absolutely. And I just want a clear understanding as much as humanly possible to see. He said in his chat that in his text that he'd been planning it for a little over a week.
Yeah, probably as soon as he heard about that Charlie Kirk was going to the UVU.
I don't know how you plan something like this in a week. I don't know how you change your clothes twice while you're on the run. And, there's just, it just feels like there has to be other people helping.
It feels like it. I don't know. That's not a judgment call I would make. I mean,
No, I don't know, honestly. And
none of anything he did is outside the realm of possibility for an average 22-year-old that has experience with that particular rifle that they were using. None of that is, and you hear people say, how could a 22-year-old, have that capability? There are a lot of 22-year-olds who are Army snipers and Marine Scout snipers and Navy SEAL snipers, a lot of 22-year-olds.
But from what I'm hearing, that shot wouldn't require any special training.
No, it would not.
It just maybe some gun range training or hunting.
Well, he grew up with that very gun. That gun was given to him by his grandpa before, he left high school.
And then, he drove from St. George, right? And then he had to drive back. I mean, he wanted the gun back. And, I think about how great that deputy didn't leave that location. Because
Yeah.
he did drop that gun and was trying to go back for it. If they'd have left and not found it, then we wouldn't have a weapon. We wouldn't have.
That's kind of what caught him. Here's my understanding of what happened is they found the weapon, so they showed a picture of the rifle on the television. And his grandpa saw that television and saw his rifle on there. So his grandpa, this is what I understand. I could be wrong. It's just information because, again, I'm further out of field than the average human being. And so the grandpa called the father and says, where's my rifle? Send me a picture of it. The father can't produce it. So then questions start happening to Tyler. Hey, where were you? Where's the rifle? What's going on? Tyler folds under his father's stern gaze and tells him. And so his father, who's kind of turned out to be the sad hero, has to turn his son in.
But then he said he talked to a pastor or something before turning him in.
Sure.
And they called the marshals to come get him. So he wanted to turn himself in. I just think this is sad all the way around.
It's terrible. I couldn't imagine. But we can move into a happier note. Here's the happy note is for the Republicans out there is you may have this individual, sad note for the Democrats, but this individual probably polled a lot of independents a lot of Christians into the Republican Party
A lot of young people.
and a lot of youth, and probably pulled a substantial number of Democrats away from the Democrat Party. The Democrats played this all wrong. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and that bald lady, that bald black lady, all of you guys who have come out and shown vitriol in these moments. Oh, and Jimmy Kimmel, you guys could lay some blame on him. You guys should have came out and said this. You didn't have to come out hat in hand. You didn't have to come out and say anything like, oh, I can't believe. You should have just come out and said that was a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's all you had to say. That was a tragedy. Charlie Kirk wasn't an evil man. He didn't commit atrocities on the world or anything, and it's a tragedy that happened. I hope and pray for his wife and children and his sister and his parents and his friends and his co-workers and his family and his organization. And here's what the Democrats could have said, and this would have been gangbusters if they would have said, I am making myself available to Turning Point and his family anytime, day or night. They want me to come talk there. I'm there. They want me to give a supporting message. I'm there. If they would have came out and said that, the Democrats would have won. But instead, the Democrats came out and automatically went adversarial against him. And so with that, people are leaving their side to go to the other side.
Yeah, including LGBT folks.
You know what? Let me lay this out. I don't care whose genitals you want to rub up against. When you see something awful, you see something awful and it shocks you. And I don't care if you're in the middle of genital rubbing. Awful is awful, no matter what you do, because genital rubbing has nothing to do with how our country runs.
We don't need to hear that 3 times. Colleen Brunson says
It was 4 because
it'll be interesting to see what the investigation reveals. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like we need to take a breath, let the people do their job. Our attorney general is on this. The sheriff's office in Utah County is on this. He's got tons of resources helping. The FBI is helping. There's a lot of hands that were elected by really good citizens in this county or in Utah County in this state. And I'm just hopeful that the right information comes through that will get accountability. And, you know, if this guy isn't absolutely mentally ill, then the death penalty should be on the table. I mean, if that's what the prosecutor feels needs to be done, maybe by taking it off the table, they could actually seal this case up with a bow and be done.
Gosh, that makes me wonder.
Give us a confession and explain how all this happened, start to finish, and we'll take that off the table.
Which one would have the better outcome for the national feeling? It'll be so far down the road that it doesn't matter. I mean, if it does happen, it'll be, at the minimum, like 5 years.
Oh, death penalty? 10 to 20.
Well, I mean, at the minimum, 5. If they grind at it and do everything and prioritize, if he puts an appeal forward, they prioritize getting the appeals in there.
I'm seeing results that he's not even able to get a fair trial, they think.
That's a tough one. And this would honestly, I would argue, if his lawyers ask for a change of venue, I would almost argue change of venue to I would think it would, in my mind, it would have to be like a politically sympathetic state, but I would almost allow like Idaho,
I think Idaho is red, and I don't know that.
It is, but that's what I mean. A politically sympathetic state. You can't move him to like Colorado because as soon as he crosses the lines and they change the handcuff key from one guy to the other, they'll declare him innocent and let him go.
Well, I mean, I don't know what exactly. Maybe his attorney should consider a judge trial and not a jury trial.
Oh, a bench trial?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but I would think if they're worried about him getting a fair trial with an untouched jury, that's impossible. I don't know if you can find a jury in the world that doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, the whole world saw it. I would almost tell him, we'll pull the death penalty if you come clean on everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's where the death penalty is really important, y'all, because that is, the Bible says that you're not supposed to murder, but it also says that a life for a life. And, I don't like the death penalty. I just don't like it because of all.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the government having that power. Like,
however,
Percival's back. Percival, how you doing, homeboy?
I think it's important that it is a chip or a bargaining option when we're talking about information.
Yeah, that's all beyond me. Percival says, do you have the same feelings for school shootings that happen every week?
Hi, Percival.
100%. Yes, good to have you back. 100%.
Yeah.
I have no tolerance for school shooters. Yes, I thought the right were pro-life. I am definitely I am not a fan, and I've said this before on the show. I'm not a fan of the death penalty. I'm not. In a situation like this or in a school shooter, I think the society will call for revenge. I'm getting to the point where school shooters, if you take them alive, or this guy, which I guess technically you could call a school shooter.
He shot at the school.
Yeah. Let's break him on the will. I'd like
to see him. I'd like to see people serve life in prison. I think that's actually worse than being put to death, I'd assume. But
I also wonder if that's not better for the family as well. Instead of going through 10 years wondering, they get an immediate outcome that's final. But I don't know. There's a lot more to think about it. And Percival,
that same day, there was a shooting in Colorado.
I know. Some kid went in there, and it sounds like this kid was just kind of flipped his lid and went into the class, and he shot two of his fellow students, had a revolver, and then shot himself.
It's horrible, guys. This is horrible. And Percival, yeah, we hate school shootings, and I'm going to quote Charlie Kirk. We worry about armed guards babysitting our money, babysitting our airports, but not our schools. And that has to change. Like, there's got to be an answer. And we also have a mental health problem in this country. It's not a gun problem. It is a tool. Just like in other countries, they have mass stabbings, and England doesn't like people to have knives, even for
you can't even have screwdrivers in England anymore.
Yeah, so it's a tool, but something has flipped, and I think it's the humanity of they've lost humanity.
I think
they don't believe in life. Period. Life isn't special. It's not important. It's just a clump of cells, or it's just a faith of people that don't agree with me, that are horrible, or it's not real life to these people, what they're doing. And I think mental illness is rampant in this country, and we need some way to fix it or address it. And schools need to be protected ultimately as much as airports or banks.
I think it's also social media.
Yeah.
I think the social media for the kids, where, you got young ladies who are going, who have bad eating habits so that they can get more likes and not concerning about the real world likes that they're getting. And I don't know. I think it's a number of things. And I think it's something that as humans, we have to evolve with. And I don't know it. And now, I mean, social media has disrupted so many of the natural human impulses and lives. And it's the first kind of generation to deal with it. So I think we will get through it. I think we've got these growing pains now. When television first came out, that generation had a lot of downstream problems at the time. It wasn't the same downstream problems, but they had a lot of them. And then, you know, and I'm sure the same thing was said about radio. And I'll bet, you know, 1,000 years ago, they said the same thing about, well, the
Tablet.
printed word. And then I'm
Right.
sure, you know, 5,000 years before that, they said the same thing about when they started using cuneiform for more than just numbers.
So Colleen says, having compassion or lack thereof speaks volumes to an individual's common decency. And that's so true. Like, this is why I say, if people were celebrating this, I would so much rather know they were celebrating it publicly, so I know who they are, than people who are doing it quietly and not showing us who they are, because I would avoid them like crazy. I would invite anyone who was celebrating this to unfriend me. And I pray for you. I absolutely forgive you for the pain you're causing other people. Not that it's, you know, mine to forgive, but I wish you only the best. But I don't want that darkness in my life. I want people to look at life from the womb to the oldest person in our world, our grandparents and great grandparents. They all matter. They're all children of God, and they deserve their life and human rights. They're humans. And even if it's not a famous person and it's someone at a school, an innocent child, a principal, or a cop, these people don't deserve to have their life snuffed out. And the fact that humanity is not within all of us to look at each other like, wow, you know, we don't even go outside. We barely talk to our neighbors. We barely, you know, kids are living in an online world. And
They are. They don't
cement that. COVID made that an absolute.
Well, and it was going on before COVID. They don't care to get their driver's license anymore.
Yeah, they don't care
That
to
was-
go on their bikes and meet up with friends.
Yeah,
you know,
bikes.
when
I
they're
mean,
young.
when I remember when I was in elementary school, it was all about the bicycle. You were judged socially on your
Absolutely.
bicycle. That was
Watch Stranger Things, and I'm just sitting there going, yeah, you guys, this is how it was. Your bikes were all parked to someone's house. Your parents knew where they were, and the parents barely know where you are half the time unless you called in, and they didn't expect you to call in. They expected you to walk in the door when it was dark outside.
yeah.
It was that simple.
When it got dark, you had to come home. You had, you know, that I was in Grantsville, so 10 minutes you could get from one side of Grantsville to the other on a bicycle, but it was all about bicycles. And it was, yeah, Stranger Things. I love that show because one, it has that cool Montauk story in it, which is kind of a cool story for us crazy conspiracy theorists and enjoyers of that. But it was the bicycle. It was a look back into what it was like when I was a kid. It was your bicycle was everything.
It was your freedom. It was your group. It was your gang of friends that you could hang out with.
When we all turned 15 and a half, it was all focused towards getting to that driver's license, getting the vehicle, and driving around. Yeah.
Getting a job so you could buy your own clothes and get your own car. And it was like a rite of passage.
Now it's all
kids aren't interested.
It's all internet. I mean, and then you're finding out like Roblox had that like a pedophile ring on there. Roblox, I guess, is like
It's a
a
social
game.
site for kids.
It's a game where they can make their own games in it.
There's
Like,
thousands of games, yeah. And these kids, it's supposed to be for young kids, and it does have chat, but there's just every game you can imagine, and they can change their avatars and their clothes and all that stuff. And I mean, it's just, I'm sorry I never invented it, because that's been a huge cash grab. But because you can invent your own games, the wrong people get in there and they created, and I've seen it myself and reported them. Some of these games are absolutely horrific, and kids can't discern when they're a certain age, when they're a young age. So now, yeah, they had they had some very questionable games. Someone called out pedophiles, but that whole thing is questionable, because was this guy catfishing them, pretending to be a child and trying to suck them in to the web? I mean, I don't know. Like, these kids, my kids played it, and their conversations with friends that would just help them in other games and follow them to these games, and I'm like, you realize that's probably a 40-year-old man, right? Always think that you're talking to a 40-year-old man. So my kids have always been raised that way, where they don't talk. They just say, hey, come play over here, or we're doing this. But Roblox was a safe place, we all thought. And
turns out it weren't.
Anything for kids can be used against them.
That's the problem. That's another place we've gone, is maybe there was always these pedophiles out there, and when we were on bicycles, they couldn't catch us, but now that it's the internet, but man, it just seems like there's the internet has brought them into your house.
Oh, it definitely has. It definitely has. And you see in movies, and the fact that we have YouTube and you can put anything on YouTube practically, and the fact that human beings, us, we've been desensitized to a lot of violence, and we've been desensitized to the pain of others. And it's a me society, when it should be a collective, looking out for the greater good of my neighbor, and making sure that, you know, our communities are taken care of, and that we're doing service. And it's like it's all rare. But I do believe that Gen Z, Gen Alpha are going to be the generation that is going to flip this country on its head. And hopefully the ones that are rising up now over this Charlie Kirk thing, a lot of these kids are educated on the issues. They're secure in their faith. They're close to their families, to their parents, and they're going to college, and they're looking at eyes wide open. I'm only here because I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Otherwise, I'm going to trades. And we're seeing this just evolve before our eyes. And we've been talking about this forever, but it's such an amazing thing to see. And Charlie Kirk probably got the election for Donald Trump because of the youth. That he spent all his time focusing on the youth, and man, did they come out in droves for Donald
I think he might get the midterms for him. Sadly, that's such a high price. I mean, let's face it, Charlie Kirk, like him or not, was a good human being.
And he was effective.
Well, no, I'm just saying, as a human being, he was never. He never went after people with vitriol. He had his own views, and he would go and argue them. And yeah, he may not have, your views and his may not have aligned, but he was not an evil person. And
No.
Man, to have and I guess it kind of lets you know that some young kid, maybe the kid was a little divergent, but he made a decision that he was going to kill him at 200 meters, just like that, thinking it would do good. Even if the kid got away,
He's not
I think
a
this
kid.
is
He's a man.
this is man or kid. I mean, he's a kid to me, but the man, even if he had gotten away, the Democrats need to recognize that this is a devastating thing for all of their ideals right now.
For all of them as well, because at what point you see how the left, a lot of people feel left behind by the Democrat Party. I mean, a lot of Republicans feel the same way, but the left, now you're not righteous enough in your indignation for hate speech and whatever it is that's on their side. But wait a minute, I don't want men in my daughter's locker room, and I'm a full-blown Democrat, but no, this is too far. Or hey, these lockdowns and mandates and my son getting fired from the military because he didn't want to put a chemical in his body, that's too far. And they're leaving behind, and now they're internal fighting, just like my party is fighting internally for different reasons. But now it's switched, and you need humanity now more than ever. These people are all targets just like the right.
Yeah, well,
And
and
that should terrify all of them.
the ultra left, which has become more violent, and they've become more radical, have pushed even the Democrats to the right. They're changing the Overton window to where even your average Democrat's going to be standing there going, I'm on the right now. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Chelsea Swathwood, new person, never met you before.
Hi, Chelsea.
Thanks for joining us. Says, I'm nervous for our country for what this situation reveals. I am as well.
Yeah.
I am as well. And I'm going to tell you, as that weirdo libertarian anarchist, I'm worried that this is going to accelerate the pendulum for the right. I do not want to see the right go crazy either. And that is one of my concerns. I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail.
The right has not been rioting. They've been praying and doing vigils.
No, I'm talking about laws.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes. The right isn't known to riot. Nowhere ever in history has the right wing rioted. One, because their population looks to the elders usually, and elders are too old, fat, and lazy. They don't go out and riot. So their population looks to their elders and says, what are they doing? Oh, they're doing a vigil. Let's go do that.
Well,
oh, that feels good.
They're a faith-based population. A lot of conservatives are religious, and
most of the time, yes, but
that's the answer in our faith of Christianity, isn't to burn the streets down and kill people. It's to try to forgive and grow. And that's the message that seems to be resonating with these young people too. That's driving them to churches right now.
It's also youthfulness plays a big part of it, because you can look to sometimes in the Middle East when it was the right wing who did riot, like when the Wahhabis started growing, they did riot, but that was their youth had a fervor. And I hope our youth doesn't pick up a right wing fervor where they want to have a Christian based law centric thing where they go hard on that. I hope not. I want to see us firmly in the center. I would happen to think that if we went back to like 98, pretty good time, you know, everyone kind of had their own little, you know, that was a time when neither side was flashy about their beliefs. The left didn't.
You didn't talk about politics.
The left didn't want to have an abortion and then go out and build a poster and yell in some Christian's face about it. And the right didn't want to force a religious edict on anyone. And I hope we can, and we're going to get back to that. I'm just worried that it seems like we're accelerating faster and faster and faster. And I hope this doesn't solidify faster acceleration. I would like to finish out my old age in a situation like in the 90s. And it was kind of a little more prosperous back then. Of course, Obama had to do that cash for clunkers, and that one day there's going to be an accounting of how economically damaging that was. That try buying a car nowadays. But anyways, I think that's the show. Holly?
I have to say that Fred and Jordan and Colleen and Chelsea and my mom,
Yep.
we love you guys sharing your ideas and sharing your comments. It means so much to us to
And
hear from
Yanni.
you. We do not want to be in an echo chamber here. We
No.
want to hear from you guys. We want to be able to understand what our fellow man is saying, good or bad. And also, this is all we do this show for, is we want to calm the
That's what Holly
head
does it
trauma
for.
of the politics and get to the root of the people, making a connection with one another so that we can go forward stronger and talk about truth.
I
And
do it
that's
to
what
talk crap.
KMMU
That's why I do this show.
KMMU has been a great supporter of us,
Yes.
and we're so grateful for them. And they are trying to get the truth out as much as possible. We're grateful they chose us to have a show on their platform and talk about things like this. I'm so grateful to anytime I get an opportunity to share my faith or to encourage others to find theirs, or just to see the humanity in each other. I think we can do so much better when we're together. And I love hearing from Democrats too. And we've got great Democrats that come on this show or that usually comment, and they know they're coming into a place where they're not going to maybe be adored, but I respect their strength and I respect their convictions, and I want to learn. I have to learn. I've got to know why this world is where it is. I can't just chalk it up to the devil is among us, because these are people
Well,
that just think differently, and I'm trying to figure it out.
normally when Holly's gone, I bring a Democrat in as the co-host. I bring Katie Adams Anderton on, and she's firmly in the Democrat Party and love her to death. Colleen says, my heart has been broken. The world lost a really good person and a great example of decency for all of us. 100%.
Amen.
Fred, we miss you too. We need to set up a breakfast sometime. Get down there and get some of them bacon and eggs. I want to thank the new people who come on. You know, Colleen, she hasn't been on. I don't think she's been on before. Yanni, thanks for showing up. Hope to see you next week. Ken Jackman, thank you.
Hey, what about our
Percival?
friend Percival, welcome back, friend.
Glad to see you
have
back. And Chelsea, thank you, Chelsea.
Don't
It's a
touch-
pleasure when new people jump on and throw their 2 cents in.
And I want to say, if you're in Twilla County, there is a Renaissance Fair happening at the Grist Mill all day tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And if you've never been to a Renaissance Fair, these are so fun. They wear their costumes, they stay in character. There's tons of treats, and there's a guy smoking meat over there that has been smoking since he pulled into our state yesterday. And turkey legs that fall off the bone. So don't go trying to wave it like a sword. You'll throw turkey everywhere. And it's a Texas, it's a rub they use in Texas. He's got these giant smokers. This is our hometown, y'all, and we would love you to come out and experience it. If you would like a Renaissance Fair still that's not ridiculously huge, like a huge Comic-Con or something, but all these individual vendors. There's a guy there that carves wands himself and adds the stones and all the decoration, and they're gorgeous. And if you like that kind of thing, this is the place. So
it's a fun get together. Yeah, Benson Gristmill. For those of you who don't know, if you're coming from Salt Lake, take exit 99, and
to
just
Lake Point.
to Lake Point. It's right there at the beginning of Stansbury Park. It's a historical site. It's a cool place to check out regardless. But yeah, I think I may have to find my way there. There's something special about smoked turkey. That's about
man. And he let me try the rub last night because it wasn't done yet, but I have a smoker and I'm like, you got to teach me your ways. He was saying the Traeger doesn't smoke the way his does because it's using electricity and wood pellets. Whereas he's got a wood blend that he puts in, and these sticks that he creates out of different woods, not flavored woods, but these different woods, oak. I mean, it's a science what he's doing over there. And I my mouth was watering just talking to him, and the time and attention put into it. And these legs are this big. They're $20 each, but that's how much they are in Disney too. And I know they don't fall off the bone in Disney. So it's just these are folks that come out to have this good time. It's such a fun experience, and if you dress up, it's even more fun, I think. But that's for us nerds out there that just
So grab your burlap and your bonnet or whatever they wore back then, and head on down to
There's knights. There's a queen there, Queen Victoria, I think.
I think I'll just show up in a pair of blue jeans because burlap is uncomfortable. But anyways, thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for the
Shield Maidens one.
Oh yeah, Shield Maidens. There's a class coming up next month on the I don't know. Go to the website. It's shieldmaidentactical.com. Go to the website.
Is it in the show notes?
The phone number's in the show notes. That's Mallory's direct phone number. You can call her directly, ask her any questions you have with it. Of course, you can reach out to me on Facebook and I'll give you any information I got. My email address is don't everyone laugh too hard, but it's Jared_UT at hotmail.com because I'm an old dude and I've had the same email since like 2002.
Is that HOT mail MALE?
Brown chicken, brown cow. But anyways, but yeah, reach out if you have any questions for it. I will direct most of your questions towards Mallory, but I can answer any questions on what to expect at the class.
Jared is a trainer there, and it's a really great class, and it's a concealed carry class and how to shoot with your concealed.
It's a basic pistol defense class, but we drive it from concealment. Most other classes, you won't do it from concealment, but if you're carrying, you're going to carry from concealment. So we have the class and all the tests. So you have to learn how to deal with that. It adds another layer of complexity to it, but it's a 20-hour class. Well, usually about 22 to 24-hour class, but it's a long class. It's grueling and
amazing. It's fun.
But anyways, and also from the show notes, we've got Mosquito Shield. That's 801-440-9260. Ask for Jen. They come out for all of your yard extermination needs.
Especially if you live by water anywhere, yes. Like anywhere in the northern Twilla County, Farmington, just all the way north, call them or look up mosshield.com and put your zip code in there and you can find one close to you. But it's changed my family's life. We've been able to use our backyard all summer without any bug bites. I've been amazed by it.
I'll tell you what, day one out hunting antelope, we were at the base of Muskrat Canyon. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but mosquitoes, the mother of all mosquitoes is down at Horseshoe Springs, and her offspring, the mosquitoes weigh about 3 pounds each out there, and they are huge. They will pack you away, and they will, you get 3 of them on you at once, and you're going to need to see a doctor, get an IV started. Those things are huge. So you want to wear long sleeves out there, but anyways, everyone, thanks for joining us. I hope you guys all have a good week. For those of you who's kicking off your hunt, I hope you have a successful hunt and a successful harvest.
And a safe hunt also.
Yeah, they lost those 2 hunters in Colorado. One of them was from Salt Lake. The other one, I think, was from Kentucky. But that's a sad deal. Be safe, have a plan, let people know where you're going to be. Have kind of time frames with them when you're going to do check-ins. Nobody wants to leave a family behind pursuing a hobby that you love. So everyone have a good weekend. I think I'm going to go to the Ren Fair tomorrow morning. I didn't even know it was here.
Yeah, 10 a.m. over at Gristmill. I'll see you there.
Okay, we'll see you there. Everyone have a good weekend. We'll talk.